Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Market Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for Thursday, the 25th of January. So, we've got some themes to kind of go over today. Overall, I would call the price action, while the indices, most of them, it looks like all of them closed in the green today. I would say a bit of sloppy price action, and I'll explain where I'm getting that from and what that means. But it also feels like a little bit of rotation, or what I'm referring to as reversion to the mean, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Before I do, risk disclaimer in front of you: everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. So let's talk about a couple things. So let's talk about that price action that I mentioned first. And I'm just going to use this chart for now, and then I will go back to TradingView in just a second. But here's kind of what we've been doing this week. And this week was today was a little bit different, right? I mean, obviously yesterday you had that reversal to the downside. You had the markets gap up, continuation till about 12:50, 1 o'clock, until you had that bond auction yesterday, and that was it for the market. We went to the downside. Today it kind of felt like some type of a repeat of that, meaning, like, again, strong, very strong in the beginning of the day, but just really then running out of steam and falling back down. However, we did not take out the lows of the day, and we saw some buy programs, or just basically buying in general there in the last hour and a half of the day. You could see, by the way, like, this is something that we always look at. Once we break below the value area, sometimes there's some hesitation of trying to get back into the value area, which we did. And then once we did, then it was a little bit more easy, because there wasn't resistance right in front of the price action, and there it is, an up half a percent day, which again surprises me a bit, to see the numbers where they are for the day. But it is what it is. Just a little bit different groups, rallying decently at the end of the day. Here's where we stand for S&P futures. We are above the value area for the month. I came into today. One of the things that I mentioned on my Substack this morning was that we had this ugly looking bar yesterday, reversal day. However, we didn't reverse the price action like below the current trend, which you could use a 5-period moving average just to basically give you a sense of whether or not there's really a change, or if it's just kind of a one-day type situation. Remember, one day is not a trend, so it helps to look at things like a 5-period moving average to help you kind of capture the trend, especially when we're trending above the value area as we are right now for the month. So overall, kind of get you right back to this trend, and it's strong. So that's one of the things that I find, that when you do have a little bit of a stronger market, is that you could see these rotations take place, and meanwhile the market is continuing to go higher, right? So that's kind of what we had for the day. The Qs I want to look at as well too, because it seems like the Qs are have gotten a little bit more tired than what the S&P looks like. Just finishing up 10 basis points, but just seems to kind of just struggle a little bit. We hit the top of the value area. This was at 1150 today, and then backing off, right? So almost got to the highs of yesterday. So I guess you could say that that's a lower high, and then we really kind of got slammed down, and it looked like for a minute there, it looked like this was a possible bear flag. And at least that's what I was thinking, that we might have some more downside, but we actually resolved back higher. Now, again, we didn't have that rally like we did, in the S&P. So again, the S&P showing a little bit more strength. And then finally, the oddball of the bunch of the small caps. The small cap, and it's funny, because sometimes you think, once you think that you understand like how the price action is going to work every day, that's when the price action does something different. And that's just like what I was referring to with the first two indices that I went over. We had such a reversal yesterday that you kind of felt like at some point, here we go again today. But the small caps actually did quite well today, even though you've got a red candle. They finished up 80 basis points and still hanging above this 5 and 20-day moving average, really shaking the hell out of people. And and again, one of the things that I continue to talk about is how interest rates have been affecting the small caps. And today you had bonds rally a little bit. TLT was up. So, there's the relationship isn't going to be exactly every day, but TLT, which is just an inside day, but off those lows from where we were yesterday. So still a lot of work to do, but overall we're just basically haven't really moved too much in the last 5 days. We've been exploring the ranges. We got rejected at the top, at the bottom of the January value area, and we look like we might be breaking lower based on where we closed yesterday, but we're kind of right back into the middle of this range. So can't really draw a conclusion based on today's price action. So bounce, but not powerful enough to really kind of change the trend. So I think that this is still a must-watch area. Here's IWM, and once again, rallying in the beginning of the day. This is at 9:30 in the morning, right? Making the high of the day. As soon as we open, I even mentioned this in the trading room. I was like, this is probably going to be a short. But I did not short it, but you could see that could have been played out quite nicely if you did so for a move through the value area, and then you could have taken profits. Notice like a little bit of a double bottom for the day, a little bit of a higher low, and we rallied. So do I think that there's a trade here yet for IWM? I don't. I think that's really what I'm going to continue to be watching what bonds are doing, what TLT is doing, and then we'll kind of see how that develops. If bonds could rally a little bit, then perhaps the small caps can get going, right? That's my take on the indices. In terms of sectors, so let's go back to my spreadsheet. Right. So I talked about, I've got here reversion to the mean. Well, I think if you look at the energy names and what crude did today. So first of all, crude did take out a VPOC. This is going to be a little bit more accurate on TradingView. So I'm going to use that. So here's crude oil futures. Right. So we've got, when I have the way that I have my chart set up is that you could see, multiple value areas on one time frame, meaning this gray box or lighter gray box, that's the value area for the year, right? And we're in value for the year, right? So resistance would be all the way up here. For the month, we have rallied outside the value area, and we actually took out this VPOC. I actually put the VPOCs in blue just to kind of change it up a little bit. And the way that we have this program now is once this becomes, once it's taken out, it will go into light blue. So what happens when we take out a VPOC? Normally we see some digestion afterwards, or you could see a reversal. We don't know. We just know that this is overhead supply. So we did take this out. It was a very nice day, and it's been a very nice move here in crude. The question is, do energy stocks really follow? And I think that's I got the wrong symbol. Sorry about that. I think that you could see what I refer to as a reversion to the mean. You're starting to see, just from where this was, a week ago, we've got a nice move here. And today was the nicest a day, I think, in probably a good, couple months, I think, as far as energy stocks go, right? Nice. So it's a good move. This was up 2.25% today, and we did break into the value area for January. So rather than one of the things I guess you could do is go long the ETF, but I always look for individual names because I don't think I want to go necessarily long, the whole group of energy here for a long-term swing trade. I just think that this is reverting back a little bit, right? This has been one of the weakest areas this year. And and last year did not have a good, was a weak area last year, but things will revert back a little bit. Now, I still think that the refiners are pretty good. This was in our morning note. This is PSX. This is my favorite of the group, right? And this is out to new highs. Now, this is going to have earnings in a couple days, but I would rather be going after something that's in an uptrend, right? And that's PSX, right? Another one too, which I've been talking about for a while, which really hasn't done too much, is Marathon Petroleum, but it's still more healthy than XLE or some of the other ETFs, because it is above its value area for both the month and the year. Right, there's your darker box for the month, lighter box for the year. So I think you could be long a couple of these things for swing trades, but I think the overall group is still a little bit, the technicals are still a little bit less favorable. Right. And, another group that hasn't done very well, which is consumer staples, had a decent day. They weren't on the top of the list, but, I started to see some setups develop, right, within this group. For example, Clorox. Now, again, it's tough with a lot of these names because they're going to have earnings, but this Clorox is trying to break this sideways pattern here. It did break its value area for the day, right? That's the dark box, or it's the value area for the month, excuse me. So you can see this is trying to get going. So, and another name that reported decent earnings the other day, which did not get that much attention, is Procter and Gamble. Right. And that's also breaking to the upside. So, it's important to kind of understand, like, on a day like this, where things are kind of changing, right, in terms of momentum, because this was up 2.3% today. Right. And I think also the industrials, when you look at what happened with United Rentals today, look at the volume on the breakout. Right. So we've been kind of seeing some flashes of the industrials looking pretty decently. Caterpillar also made a new high today, even though that name hasn't reported earnings yet either. Right. That's a nice touch off the top of its value area. And also breaking above its value area for the month too. All right. So, there's some good things, I think, going on in these groups for the time being. It could change because we've got earnings reports that are dictating a lot of these moves. So you kind of you have to stay on your toes. But we'll see if we get some more strength out of names reporting in the industrial sector, because we haven't had that whole group report yet. Clearly, Caterpillar has not yet either. All right. And then again, there's a lot of interesting things going on. If you look at the bottom of the list, right, the metals and mining were down 1.9%. So you think, because I think you got GDX, and where's GDX in here? Right. GDX was up 2%, right? That's also metals and mining. So how did that go up 2%? And meanwhile, the metals and mining ETF was down 1.9%. Well, that's where it comes in to kind of look at the performing groups. And you could see what's in this ETF is actually some coal names. For whatever reason, right? I talked about reversion to the mean a couple times in this video. What's been super strong out of the energy group? Coal names, right? Well, maybe they're also seeing some that reversion to the mean, where they're actually selling off a little bit, and some of the underperformers are catching up. Sorry, excuse me. I'm still battling the tail end of a cold. So the last thing that I'll say here is, if we continue to get a reversion to the mean, and I'm just going to pause here for 1 second. All right, there we go. Just remember what happened, right? And so if we get some continued downside, because some names look like they're a little bit exhausted, like ServiceNow, which had great earnings but didn't do much today, right? Remember what happened just about 3 weeks ago, right? Is this the Qs were acting really well, and then all of a sudden they dipped and saw profit taking, right? And then look what happened since, right? They got bought up really quickly. So I would be open to the possibility, and I'm not making a prediction here, But I'm just saying it's good to kind of play out like a scenario analysis. And what happens if the Qs, maybe, who knows, one of the big names reports poor earnings, and maybe we see some type of a check back, right, into here, right, into this 20-day moving average, which right now is the same as the top of the value area, right? I bet that would lead to a pretty good buying opportunity. So these are things to kind of think about if we continue to see some of the other groups run with the ball and see more profit taking, right? Take a look at the semiconductors, right, which are super extended, right? They've had a beautiful run, but at this point, right, they're really extended, and I think they're going to come in, given what's happening here in the after hours market with Intel. That's the wrong symbol. Let me try again. Intel's down and CLAC is down, right? And I think CLAC is actually, like, I pay more attention to CLAC than I do Intel these days. So that could kind of cause the group to move down a little bit. If you look at LRCX today too, it couldn't hold the early gains. So it just tells me this group is tired, right? And extended. All right, so that's it for today's video. Guys, have a great night. If you're not subscribing to Tribeca Trade Group, you could either go to our website, and you can get our end of day notes that way. Or if you want to make sure that you're signed up for our Substack, you could go to TTG. Where is it? What's it called? TTGtrading.substack.com. Guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.